Okay, UFC 268. Leon Edwards broke the fucking internet with a head kick that shocked the world. What were your thoughts, Colby?
I think he absolutely broke the internet and won my heart back. After the first round, I was very happy and excited the way things are playing out. But I'm not gonna lie, the next 3 rounds, 3.5 rounds, I wasn't very optimistic. I wasn't saying much at a mate's place watching it. But in the end, he came through, set it up beautifully, and executed a head kick and sort of pulled out and not necessarily a Hail Mary, but in a sense it was a Hail Mary. Like there was no way he was going to get the decision. He needed a knockout and he came out with a nice clean setup for it.
Yeah, you said he was a good guy, right? Like you met him before, and said that he was a pretty good guy. So you were kind of hoping he'd take it, right?
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. So my first experience with him was in Vegas when Volk beat Holloway the first time. And it was just like I remember it was me, Eugene, and I think it was just us two. And then we all got sort of disconnected from a group. And funny enough, we're all heading to go to like a club sort of thing. And then I was with Eugene. I'm like, how are we going to get there? He's like, oh, just come over here. We'll find a limo. And I jumped in the limo actually. And I was like looking around, having a chat to a few boys, and I looked like directly to my left, and then Leon Edwards was sitting right there, and I look at him, I'm like, man, this guy looks real familiar, and I was like, oh shit, I'm like, you're Leon Edwards. He's like, yeah, and I remember telling him like, fuck, bro, you're like the most slept on cunt I've ever met in my life, and I think he was a little bit taken back by getting called a cunt by a 20-year-old Australian kid, but then he realized it was all in good fun.
He didn't say, "Watch yourself, pound for pound, headshot dead, brother."
Yeah, none of
Didn't
that,
throw that
but
one out.
no,
He didn't say,
no,
"Look at
but
me now, look at me now."
all hyped up from that day. But no, he was honestly like a legend. Like gave me time of day, had a good chat with him, and then yeah, just asked him like what his plans are on that. And I'm like, yeah, I just remember I said I'm like the second I saw him, I was like, fuck, he's the most slept on person in the UFC, probably like out of like skill wise and that to sort of yeah, guys who are slept on for their actual ability or just lack of fan appeal or casuals don't respect him. I'm like, he's by far the number one guy up there. And then I think it's good to see now sort of with that, with the sort of like pound for pound headshot dead. Look at me now, like from the trenches, like all the catchphrases and stuff comes out of one fight. Like he's really done like not a 180 because it was always on the upwards trajectory, but it was sort of like very sort of plateaued for a lot where it was like COVID happened. He was meant to fight Woodley. Uh, England got shut down with COVID. Burns stepped in. He was meant to fight Shemaev like 2 or 3 times. Things came up. So he bashed Nate Diaz for 24 and a half minutes and got clipped in the last 30 seconds. That's all people remembered. So, like, I don't think there's been anyone who's got, like, their run to the belt has been as rough as Leon. So, when he won, man, I was over, man. I was so ecstatic for the bloke.
Yeah, man. And the thing is, like, we all got like about a 20-second attention span, bro. So we've been watching Usman win. He's getting better. He's having more exciting fights. There's nothing to hold against him other than he's not the most interesting character that really draws people's attention. So that added to it as well. So we've been watching this guy win, win, win. He's on his path to another victory that wasn't like it was an amazing victory technically, and he was doing well, but it wasn't one that you sit back and go, "Oh, I'm going to remember this fight." And then it becomes a very memorable fight when that guy that's pretty much unbeatable gets knocked out by a head kick on his way to a decision victory. So it just made it a real polarizing result, man. And like everyone's happy that there's a new dog in the house and that the division's shaken up. And it's just going to be an interesting turn of events of how this division is going to shape up afterwards.
Yeah, exactly right. Like you said, it was, don't get me wrong, Usman is dominant champion. Like, realistically, let's talk real. He comes back, even at his age of like 36 and gets his belt back, like no one's going to be surprised. Like that's almost what you sort of expect from him, like the way he's been performing in that. But just getting Leon as a champ now, like you have Leon versus Colby, Leon versus Shemaev, like there's all these new matchups, which sounds sick, and like it adds just another sort of level of depth to the 170 division. Whereas with Usman of sort of clocking that division, obviously I didn't really ever want to. If obviously the Mazadov fight would be good to see, but I think Leon, like his coach said, I think he's called him like a rat pussy or something like that. Told him to get to the back of the line or something like that. That's what I like about
Yeah.
his coaches as well. They're real like just straight up saying how it is, like that fourth round moment where he was saying like stop feeling sorry for yourself, like
Yeah.
unreal sort of stuff.
Yeah, super emotive, man. It makes you really feel it. And then when he's on the phone to his mom saying, "I told you, mom, I told you I could do it." It was like fucking super emotional from the coach, from Leon Edwards, crying all over the place, like everywhere, every interview he's having a cry. It's just such an emotional moment. It sort of shared with us like what it's like to be at that level and work so hard and like come up from nothing, like you said, come from Jamaica with nothing and now be champion of the world and, pretty much change his own life, his own destiny and all that. It's a pretty emotional moment.
Yeah, and just like, don't get me wrong, if you got rid of a narrative behind the actual finish, it'd still be one of the most spectacular like head kick KOs. But just with a full storyline of everything he went through to get there, then how the actual fight played out, and then to finish Usman, who's like never been finished before in the fight with a setup, and like even in that fifth round, how he actually did start setting up, where he started, I think he threw a right tape to the body before, then he threw a kick, and then he faked a kick to sort of try and get reactions and that. And
Yeah.
there you could sort of see where he got Usman paused and he got him into that kicking range where he wasn't able to set up. Whereas the last sort of 20 minutes of a fight, it was really Usman pressing Leon onto the back foot, and Leon didn't have many answers to that. So I guess obviously when we start talking about like the trilogy and stuff like that, we can get into more details about like how the different factors you can play in with that. But yeah, just the whole narrative behind the head kick. Like I remember I was watching it with a mate, and that first round we hyped, we lost it. We're like, yes, he's all over him. He's grappling like Rocky's going to do it, sort of thing. Next three rounds was probably 10 words spoken between us, and then he just does that like fifth round. I remember looking at my mate, and I was like, don't be wrong, like. I said to my mate, I was like, I like Usman what he does. So I'm like, fuck, I just wish he would stop winning at this point. And then like 30 seconds later, head kick came through, and I was like, yes.
Did you see that footage of Henry Cejudo sitting there and he goes, "Easy money, Ali, easy money," and then you hear someone say, "Throw the head kick" in a British accent, and then they just
Yeah.
go no, and
Oh,
Ali just puts his head down, and like holds his nose, and won't even look up again, like no, like checking to see if his fighters are right or anything. This is my thinking. I think he saw it and he just coasted along thinking, I've put a lot of money on this fight, and then a hit. He's went, "Dude." He's not interested in his fighter, bro. He just put his head down and buried it. I reckon he's feeling sorry for himself because he lost a bet. That's my feeling. Because if you have a mate up there, he just got knocked dead. Are you looking up to make sure he's all right? Or are you burying your head in the knees? You're just thinking about yourself. That's my feeling anyway, bro. I think he's bet on himself. I bet on Usman to win, and I think he's lost a lot of money. That's my feeling. The way he reacted, man. I could be totally off. But if I care about someone, I'm like fucking trying to get in there or get up and try and see if they're all right. You know what I mean?
yeah. Now you make, yeah, especially like even when I've seen my mates lose in person and that, even just on amateur level and that, like it's not like my first thought isn't like, oh, how shit he lost sort of thing. My first thought is, fuck, is he okay? Like, how's like not like like obviously they care about the fight, but you personally, you don't care about the fight. All you care about is like you said, like the health and safety sort of thing. Like I've seen a couple of like mates that get like stopped bad, and like I couldn't give two shits about how the fight went. Like my first thing is like fuck, like even when I was up in Wollongong Wars the last one, like so far away up the top, I'm still like trying to look over like through like downwards to see like if the movement, like obviously you can't get anything from how far away, but like see if they're walking all good, if they're coherent and stuff, like talking Joe and accent sort of thing. And yeah, like you said, it was sort of weird how he didn't even bother to like, obviously it was a nasty KO, but like still you might be like, fuck. Then you want to look up and you want to see if he's like coming to at least, or yeah, something like that. So I didn't think of it that way, but yeah, you might be onto something there. You might have had some, yeah, a few things more at stake than just like a loss sort of thing.
I think so, man. I watched it a couple of times. I'm just looking at it, just seeing what it is. And also, remember, Cejudo said just before it, easy money, Ali. So these guys both got bets on it. It looked like it, bro. It sounds like it. So anyway, hey, man, on the kick
Mm,
too, like that kick, I guarantee like that you've trained this kick before because this is not an unusual
no.
setup for a kick
Hmm.
in a couple of different variations of it, whether it's just a punch and same side kick or whether it's posting with that hand or just putting your hand over their face for a kick. Like it's a real common one. It's been done for
Hmm.
ages. There are some masters of it, man. I don't know if you're a youngster, bro. Do you know Peter Etz? Have you heard of him?
Nah.
Superstar of K1 kickboxing,
Hmm.
bro. I'm going to send you a link later, and I might pop one on here later. He's a master of head kicks, bro, and for big guys like heavyweights and that. And he would always post with that hand, just like distract them or throw a light punch, and then throw his his legs up, and that was like super solid right leg, head kicks, nearly all of them. He did left as well. But yeah, this just reminded me directly of him. And like I've trained it millions of times too. Mine's more of a post than trying to punch, but the same thing, you kind of distract and you can push the head into it. Yeah, I kind of like that kick. Yeah, you must have trained it, right?
Yeah, 100%. And even Brian Battle off Tough, he knocked out his last fight, he knocked out Santos with it. It was just that 1-2. And Alex we actually filmed it a bit, but the quality wasn't that good, so he didn't worry about chucking in his actual video. But it's like he said, it changes the rhythm because a lot of people go like jab, cross, left kick, or jab, cross, hook, right kick, or even jab, cross, kick. So it's like boom, boom, boom. And by throwing the punch, this punch comes out, and then it's that half beat quicker sort of thing. One of my favorite ones I actually like to do is when I throw the rear uppercut sometimes just to like get guys hesitant on the level change. A lot of times I do the one and I throw the rear uppercut and I throw it down from the hip because obviously it's a very telegraphed path. Like there's no way in hell like the rear uppercut is going to land, but because it's such a like almost like an obvious technique, they're like, fuck, that's not going to hit. So they just naturally pull back. But because it is so obvious, their eyes are there and you follow the hip motion with your kick, and I actually get a fair few people with that exact same thing. It's just that showing them the right to disguise the hip movement like you're from the punch, and then turning the kick over that last second. And yeah, Edwards fucking executed it perfectly. And you can see like it wasn't even a lot of force behind it. It was just that whip. Usman parried the hand out to the side and just boom, shit on face.
Yeah, and Izzy does it too. He punches with the same hand. He does very variations on it for sure. Like he'll punch hard with it and then whip that leg after it, and he'll also just touch it like post, like almost like that Thai style post. I was talking about post with the same hand and kick. He does both of those variations. We're very often actually, in his fights.
He knocked out Costa with it.
Yeah, he did. That one was just like a
The left
post. I think he
sort of
just
thing. Yeah,
touched it out there, and boom, that was more like
boom,
the
straight
sort of
over it.
style.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, man. So, hey, talking about, you mentioned before, Usman, Colby, looking at the top 10, man, he's in trouble. Like, is he going to hold the belt? I'll say, fuck no. I'm just being brutally honest. I like him too. Like you said, he seems like a cool dude. He seems like technically very sound, but fuck, man, I think the problem is in that division, the first three, almost four, are like a great ground fighting grapplers, and he's good himself, but they're different levels, right? Like Usman, Covington, comes up. These are the guys that are gonna, get him to the ground and hold him more than. And Burns sort of has some ability down there as well, right? And then you mentioned Jorge, man. I'd like to see that fight more than any of them. Jorge or Conor McGregor, just out of interest's sake, bro. Before we feed him to the Bulls, I'd like to see him fight one of these guys. I know it probably won't happen. Like you said, his coach is saying, "Fuck off, Jorge, back to the end of the line," like you said to him before. But I'd like to see that fight, man. And that's probably his most competitive fight and most interesting fight on the actual top 10, I would say.
As a Leon fan, I reckon a McGregor fight would be fantastic. Get him that payday, get him set up for life, sort of thing. But yeah, let's be real. Like the thing with how this KO played out is it's definitely gonna change sort of because Leon Edwards is almost like a sniper, but he hasn't really been putting people away. Like he's always been able to find the real tidy shots, but he never really had that pop to put him away. So you see this with some guys, and like he might now become super. This kick might have just sort of instilled a whole new world of confidence. So he might have always had that well, obviously he's always had a technique in that, but there might have been like a little mental barrier or something like that, sort of just something holding him back where he hasn't been able to really finish and put these guys out like he might be doing in a training room, or how he can do it because he's just seen him do it. So if that happens and we do see him come back and he looks sort of like Leon 2.0 sort of thing coming out, he's a lot more confident. He is throwing a lot more volume. He's sticking with pressure. He's taking a few more risks. He's really trying to sort of hunt for that finish and come aggressive with it. I think he can sort of hold on to the belt for a fair while with his skill set and everything. But that is a massive what if sort of thing, because it took, like almost 20 minutes of getting beaten down and your coach is screaming at you for him to pull it out sort of thing. So it's just a hard habit where he has the skills there, but he's just not always able to capitalize on it sort of thing. But also we did see him do very well on the ground in the first round. And then you also got to factor in the altitude, how that might have played a part as well.
Yeah, man. I think if he was to rematch Usman on what you're saying as well, he's going to go in there with more confidence because he knows he can knock this guy dead. And for Usman, it can work on a couple of ways. It can be a negative for him, where he's worried about the knockout, where he knows he's been smashed by this guy before, or it can drive him to concentrate more than he did in that last round. I was watching one review of the fight, and whoever it was, I might have been Dan Hardy or one of these guys that knows a lot. Yeah, they were talking about how he'd been moving forward, and then he started to move backwards, and that was what began. That's how his undoing sort of began. That he was moving backwards and being a bit more passive. He might have thought he'd already won the fight. You know what I mean? So he might concentrate more. He might do better. So let's see if they do rematch. It's a bit of a variable sort of thrown in there that someone smashed the other one, because it'll definitely play on both of their minds to some extent. It's just whether they turn it into positive or not, you know. So what do you think, man? So Leon Edwards, man, his next opponent, obviously be great to get Conor McGregor. It's very unlikely. Who do you think he will get, and who do you think will be the best match for him, eh?
I think who he will get, I definitely think the Usman trilogy will most likely be the option to happen. But then again, who knows? Like, ultimate timeline, I want to see Nate Diaz pull off a sub, and then Nate Diaz versus Leon Edwards in Wembley in like February. I think that would be ideal. I think that would just be like the funniest timeline. And then even if like Nate Diaz, imagine that Nate Diaz gets a fit sub again, and we have Nate Diaz in a champ for the next 4 months, like something like that. It's a possibility. It's low, but that's what I want to happen. What I think would happen, I think it's going to be an Usman rematch, and I think it's going to be competitive, but I'll root for Leon in the rematch. Well, trilogy, I guess you would have to call it now.
Man, I reckon UFC is like a money-making machine. I think that they would like it to be, okay, we're going to do Usman in 6 months just to give him a break. We're still going to get the cash out of that one. And in the meantime, we're going to put Masvidal in there, because I think actually Leon Edwards will probably beat Masvidal. And I think that's what they'll think. They'll think, let's put that in. That's probably going to get 1 million buys, whereas Usman and him is probably only going to get 500,000 buys on the rematch. You know what I mean? So they're money-making machine. I reckon they'll look at what's the best story. And the best story is the guy that gave him a 3-piece first, I reckon, and then bring him back to fight Usman for the rematch and potentially lose his belt back, you know, potentially.
What if Chimaev gets like another first 2-minute KO and calls for the belt? What do you reckon happens there?
Yeah, that's another one that would definitely draw more views than Usman, right? So I think that'd probably be the two most likely fights for him, because they're going to put Usman off for a while, and he's going to want to have a break as well. So I think it'll be one of those guys, and those are massive draw cards. Leon Edwards has only just become one. Those two added together with his story makes 1 million buys, I reckon. Eh? So either of those two big names, get him in there, and you know his recent fame, have a match with those guys, and they can just kill it.
Fingers crossed it's all, hey, because I think the Chimaev fight is a very hard fight for him, being honest.
Really, you reckon? Oh, you mean? Oh, yeah, true.
Yeah, Chimaev versus Edwards.
I thought you meant Chimaev's fight's hard. No, but yeah, Chimaev.
That's a murder.
But I still think that I actually reckon after watching Chimaev with Gilbert Burns, he's still a bit raw in a few areas, right? So I think that he would still have a chance, especially in the stand-up of sniping him somehow a bit more than, like, Gilbert Burns is very good, kind of all-rounder and great, strong guy, but he's not as sharp in the stand-up as Leon Edwards.
Yeah, exactly right. And I think, especially over 5 rounds, Leon definitely would, because his last couple of fights have been 5 rounds now. So, yeah, it's a very, as much as it sucks to see Usman lose, especially for him, like with all the records, he was on the path to breaking. I think it really does add a lot of sort of new what-if matchups and a lot of sort of new light and fun to the 170 division.
And, if I could choose and just be a nice guy and choose who to fight in the top 10, I would give Bilal Muhammad a shot against Leon Edwards, and they'll get like fucking 200,000 views, and I'll be really pissed.
Mate, that would be a fight night. They'd have to make that a fight night if
they just wouldn't do it, man. It's unfortunate, but he's just going to keep getting fed to the wolves till he loses. I don't think he's ever going to get a shot just from a popularity perspective, man. He just doesn't rate with people for some reason. I don't even know why. I guess he's not. He's more of a decision guy, right?
Yeah, I appreciate his style and everything, but like if you can make this, like, don't get me wrong, he fought Vicente Luque very well, how he shut him down and that. But if you can make Vicente Luque have a boring fight, like, fair play to him. It's definitely a style, but you can sort of see the lack of fan appeal, who can't appreciate all the little things he do and that sort of thing by shutting guys down.
Yeah, that's it, bro. All right, man. That's enough for today, and we'll have a chat soon, eh?
Legend. Cheers, brother.